Good morning, students. My name is Missy Finan. I am your English instructor for English Composition, term 197 here at American National University. I have been with ANU and actually since 2006. It used to be called National College, and I worked at a campus in Cincinnati. I attended Miami University for my bachelor's, Xavier University for my first master's, and then I went online for my second. I've been teaching English for a long time, probably about 15 years now. In addition to working online, I also work at Miami University teaching freshman English, and I also work through Hamilton City Schools, and I teach GED program. So I just wanted to pop on here and talk to you about a couple of things with class. Some of you have been concerned about the quizzes and how the reading material isn't necessarily matching up with those quizzes. My suggestion would be to not only use your new reading materials, which are right here with the ebook. If you can see that I'm sharing my screen with you, you'll just find this within that module that says course information. You'll see an ebook, and then you'll see the old book. I included the old book just because I think it may help with some of the quizzes, especially that introduction to writing one I think you guys took in the beginning. It may help you to use the find feature to kind of match up some of those questions and answers. I have been giving a couple of attempts on the quizzes because of that. I actually had this course before, and I used the old book, and I had practice quizzes and regular quizzes that went along with it, but of course they changed it to all ebooks now, and the merge has caused some issues. But for now, you guys are doing pretty well. You've had some discussions, you've had some quizzes, you've had some journals. So make sure that you are contributing to discussions. It's a big part of class, and try not to say, oh, good job, or I agree with your point. When you respond to a classmate, it should be at least a paragraph, meaning at least 3 to 5 sentences per response. So moving right along, this week's discussion, we're at week 7 right now. We are almost done. You guys are, you're getting real close. You should be doing some research right now for your research paper. So let's talk a little bit about that. So we're right here on week 7, conducting research. It may help you to go through the module and actually go through the video, how to search an ANU library. Make sure you do watch that. If for some reason it's not linking here, you can simply just go to ANU and go to the library that way. And if you have any trouble with that, just let me know in an email and we'll go from there. Your discussion this week is extra credit, so if you do not want to complete that, that's fine. If you do, then you'll get some extra credit points to throw towards your participation. Let's go over the research paper itself. You guys have written a couple of mini papers. You did a compare and contrast. You did a couple of different assignments that go along with types of essay writing, but let's just back it up and go over what I'm expecting for the final paper. You're going to find this where it says Argumentative Research Paper Guidelines. So I will click on that, and I will link that to the week 7, 8, 9, 10 modules. That way you can always go back and refer to it. So your research paper is due, I usually have it says due week 9, but that's going to be your rough draft. We'll do a final draft on week 10. What I am looking for is an APA paper. We're going to kind of do a generic version of APA. Typically in English composition classes, you do what is called MLA, Modern Language Association. However, since American National University is mostly a career school, and most of you are going into IT, business, or nursing. APA has been the format across the board because of that. Because if you are in those areas, you will have to write using APA format. This paper is 20% of your grade. And we're also talking 4 to 6 pages. 4 to 6 pages of content. So content meaning the title page and the reference page is not included in that. I'm looking for APA format. I'm looking for 12-point font. You can use whatever font you would like as long as I can read it. It should not be fancy. It should not be sloppy. It shouldn't be bold. I would suggest using Arial, Courier New, or Times New Roman, and that's pretty much the standard fonts. You don't need an abstract for this paper. You know, that's not really required. You have already started thinking about a topic at this point, so you want to make sure that your topic is argumentative. And you've already talked about thesis statement at this point. So right now, our main concern is going to be researching and then plugging in that research to support your points. Your best research is going to come from the library and databases. You can also use .com, .gov sites. I would be careful using Wikipedia or any blogs or any non-credible entity out there to cite your paper. So what we're going to do for week 9, I'm going to have you guys do a rough draft and share it with me. That way I can write comments on them, and then that way you can have a better draft for week 10, and that will be your final draft. Let's go over these APA examples. Okay. So first off, you should have a title page. A nice way to do this is if you have Microsoft Word, you can go to File, New, and APA, and it will generally set up the essay for you in that format where you just kind of have to go in and fill in the blanks. Your title page should be your name. It's not National College anymore, it's American National University. Then put your campus. Notice how I still have Cincinnati, Ohio, because that's where I started. So make that pertain to you. You want to have your class name, so that would be English composition. My name, Missy Finan, F-I-N-A-N, your date. Now, all of this should be centered on a first page, which is your title page. I assume most of you know how to make a title page because I think that you have experience in doing that. Now, you may have some trouble adding a header. For APA, there's called a running head. Basically, that is your title mentioned on every page. That's what that is. Don't worry about that at this point too much. I would start worrying about the content of your essay. So the first thing you're going to do for an APA paper, you're going to have your title page. You're going to skip your abstract. I don't need that. Then you're going to have a 5-paragraph essay with headings. Okay, so what you would do is you would have an introduction. That would be your heading. Then you would have 3 supporting paragraphs. So body, body, body. Those would all be headings. And then you would have a conclusion. That would be a heading too. And when I say heading, it just looks like this, how I have introduction right here, and then I start writing. That's all I mean by heading. So when in your introduction, you guys are sort of familiar with that because we've been talking about thesis statements, but in your introduction, you sort of want to lead up to your topic, maybe start examining your issue at a societal level. You know, what's going on in the world? Why is your topic important to the world? How does your topic affect other people, society? And finally, at the end of your introduction, you want that solid thesis statement. Now, a lot of you have turned in your thesis statement assignment, which is great. I believe that was like week 5 or 6. And basically, a good way to format that thesis is to have a statement like, in order for society to understand blank, your topic, people must first examine 1, 2, 3, and you would just fill in the blanks. Right here, I just have a hip hop example. So if I was doing the topic of the hip hop movement, I would just fill that in. that the blank is my topic. And then I said, people must first explore the history, the artist, and ultimately the impact on pop culture as a whole. So those three headings in that topic, that's going to pertain to you and whatever you are writing about. So you're going to basically try to fill in that blanks, and then you're going to stick that thesis statement as your last sentence in your introductory paragraph. Now, after your introduction, your second heading would be your first supporting point. Here, you're going to talk about your first supporting point. So what does the research say about that point? What are some instances that may relate to the particular point? For example, if I was doing the thesis on hip hop, here I would talk about the history, because notice how I have the history first, the artist, and then the impact. So you want to go in that order for your essay to have coherence. Okay, moving on, your second supporting point, that's your third heading. Here, if I was doing the hip hop example, I would plug in the artist, because that's the order my thesis statement goes in. So plug in your research, make sure to always mention your author's last name and the year. For the social science classes, the more recent, the better. And a lot of times to introduce your sources, you're going to use what is called signal phrases. So phrases like according to Dr. Smith, or Dr. Smith indicates, this website states, this book says, this article indicates. Those are all signal phrases to let the reader know where your research is coming from. Okay, after that, you're going to have your third supporting point. That's your fourth heading. Here's where you plug in some more research. So if I was using the hip hop example, once again, I would plug in the impact here. So basically, a lot of times this is called a 1-3-1 essay, because you have a 1-paragraph introduction, 3-paragraph body, 1-paragraph conclusion. I just like to call it the 5-paragraph essay, because that's the standard that we have. Then you would have conclusion as your fifth and final heading. This paragraph brings the paper to a close. It wraps things up. It's a good idea to repeat that thesis statement here, maybe not word for word, but to give your reader a sense of closure, I would suggest repeating the thesis and tying the research all together. And I would also maybe make a suggestion or a final thought. So what do you want your audience to take away from your paper? What do you want your readers to think about? What is the impact of your topic as a whole? Now, after that, here's where people get freaked out, because you have to do references. So in your reference page, that would be the final page of your paper. You would just have references at the top and the middle, sort of like you would have your title in the middle of the first page. Here you would plug in those 3 resources that you're searching for, those 3 resources this week. So that would, that's going to be a nice thing, because you can just plug it into your research paper. So this is where the academic databases work so well, because the academic databases will actually cite your articles for you. So you have to have at least 3 sources in your paper and on your reference page. So whatever sources that are mentioned within your essay have to be documented on the reference pages as well. Use the ANU academic databases. You can use Google Scholar, you can use .edu, .gov. I would avoid Wikipedia like the plague. It's not a valid source. It may be a good place to start, but not necessarily a good place to end. The more sources you have, the more credible your paper is going to be, and probably, the longer it's going to be. For in-text citations, what I was going, when I was talking about signal phrases, this is what I mean. So for an in-text quote, all you have to do is introduce the quote with a signal phrase, like according to, but always include the author and the year for APA papers. With MLA, the year is not necessary. So for example, if I found a great article on the history of hip hop in Time magazine, it says on, and needed a quote for my first supporting paragraph, I would say, according to Time 2015, and then I would put my quote and then my page number. Now, a lot of you are going to be using internet sources. You're not necessarily going to have a page number. So in the parentheses, you would simply state the like the first word of the title. You wouldn't even have to worry, or the author. You wouldn't have to worry about a page number if you're using an electronic source. Sometimes it's not easy to find authors online. So in that case, you can just put the web address, but you want to make sure that you are citing the web address, the web address correctly on your works cited, or reference page. So if I found a book, books are pretty easy because, you've got the author, you've got the title, you've got the publishing year, and then you can quote directly out of a book too. Now, if your quotes are longer than 3 sentences, you have to block them. You can certainly email me if you need help with that. Basically, a blocked quote you would have, according to, then you'd have a colon, and then you would block your quote sort of by tabbing it in if it's longer than 3 sentences. So for a book, to cite a book, you would just have last name, first name, title, city, and year. For a web page, you would have last name, first name, title of the web article, title of the web page, and the date downloaded. Then you would indent and put the full web address, so the http://. Another thing I want to mention, even if you are putting it in your own words, you still have to mention where your ideas and research is coming from. So even if you are putting it in your own words the best you can, you still want to mention where that research is going or coming from. Plagiarism, avoid that. Do not plagiarize, cut and paste. Beware of those sites like Buy My Essay, dreamessays.com. Because what happens is your paper is scanned with a tool called Turnitin, meaning it will take your essay and it will scan it with all of the other essays on the internet, including student essays. And this is why I sort of warn students, if you've turned in a paper for another class and you try to use it for another class, then that's going to show up and Turnitin, and they'll call that self-plagiarism. So just be aware of that. If you think like a psychology paper might work for a business class, just be aware that sometimes the system is going to flag that, and then that could get you in all kinds of mess, and you don't want that. So I'm going to have your rough drafts due week 9. But if you want to start sending me stuff, if you want me to take a look at anything, I can do that for you. I'm going to make sure you're on the right track. So don't hesitate to bring your essay to me. I will link this on week 7 because it looks like for week 7, you are dealing with citations and incredible citations. So we want to make sure that I link the essay guidelines as well. So right down here, conducting research. So this is all about researching. Now, some of you, if you're not using Google Chrome, it may give you like a sad Mac face here. So this, I would definitely take a look at how to do a search in the ANU library. If it does not load here, you can simply click on that. See, I'm getting a sad Mac face. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this, and it's going to take me to an external site that will hopefully load that. If it does not, for some reason, you can certainly let me know. See, it seems like it's coming up here. It may be a case of where you just have to change your browser. So that's what the how to do a search in ANU library looks like. I will let you guys look at that on your own. And then, yeah, don't freak out if you get a sad face, because you may have to hop on that externally, so that way you can, view it for your research papers. So let's go back to week 7, make sure everything's working here. Looks like you do have a quiz on research. You've got optional extra credit. You've got your citations and sources assignments, where you're just plugging in 3 citations and telling me a little bit about why you're using them. It shouldn't be, very long. How to format an APA reference page. Let's take a look at that and make sure that's loading. This is probably another one that's going to give me a sad face. So what I do is I just click on it, and it's going to take me to the outside version of that. So keep in mind, you are going to have to click on some links for week 7. So let's go back. The next thing should be the library tutorial. Let's make sure we can get that. Once again, we'll probably have to click outside of the link. because sometimes it just does not like Canvas. So, oh, it actually popped up here. So you want to follow these instructions and sort of take yourself through the library tutorial. As long as you understand, you know, that is what I am concerned about. So just make sure you take a look at that and get that in as soon as you can. In addition, it looks like we have, let's see, there's a library tutorial. There's also APA guidelines here. So if we can take a look at that, this is another thing we'll probably have to click out of. Oh, it actually popped up for us as well. So this is a nice site because it gives you rules on how to do APA. Another thing you can do is you can just pop onto the ANU library, and when you're using their academic databases, you can actually put in, you can go to this research center, there's a writing center, there's all kinds of different ways that this library can help you with your research paper. There's actually even chat librarians available all the time. So make sure you use the library to your advantage, because sometimes just doing a blank search on Google won't give you the information that you need, and then you may not know how to cite it correctly. So that in a nutshell is week 7. I will share this recording with you, and I will also be doing some optional, you know, Zoom sessions, just a question and answer deal if you need anything, especially since our papers are coming up. So keep up the good work, keep following along with the modules. Be sure to make up any missed work that you have not done already. Even if you get a little bit less of a score, it is certainly better than nothing. So I hope that you guys are doing well. I hope that this was informative. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to drop me an email. That is the best way to get a hold of me, as I am constantly online. Other than that, have a great weekend, and keep up the good work, guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye. Okay.